this is Tia from Nail Dip Studio. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning to my channel, welcome back. And again, my name is Tia. I am the owner of Nail Dip Studio, an online nail boutique that specializes in dip shades that flatter women of color. So if you're interested in any of the products that you see in today's video, you can purchase them at my website, which is naildipstudio.com. So let's jump into this video now. So a few weeks ago, one of my subscribers asked if I could do a video using dip powder and putting on a nail tip. And I thought, this would be a good time for me to do so. So I'm just using a standard nail tip. And I am going to use that tip today. I'm going to do a long coffin shape nail demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and use step number 1, which is the primer from my kit. So I'm going to apply that to the entire natural nail. I'm then going to grab step number 2, which is my base. The base coat is a adhesive, so that same adhesive could be used to apply your tip. So I'm going to take a little bit of that adhesive, step number 2, and I'm going to put that on the back of the tip, and I'm going to place that tip on my natural nail. Okay. Once I've secured the position that I want the tip to sort of rest in, I am going to apply a little pressure. Once I apply the pressure, I'm also going to do a little pinch method that I would do if I was wearing tips, just to ensure that I really have a secure fit on my nail before I move on to the next step. As you can see, I just pinched it right there. Just a nice little pinch. And I'm a real big component of pinching your nails, especially if you want to start to create a form and a shape. Pinching helps. Okay. So after I've done that, my nail is secure. I've let it sit for about a minute or two. I'm going to go in with some scissors, and I'm just going to start to sort of form that coffin shape. Okay. Right now, the nail is too rectangular for me, and so I want a tapered look. So I go in and I like to, at an angle, cut the sort of extra nail off that I don't need. So in your mind, you would basically sort of envision almost like a tapered look, and you have to sort of guesstimate how much you want to sort of take off based on your desired shape. And so that's all I'm doing right here, is just cutting off the extra so that I'm basically starting to create that tapered look without fouling off too much product. Okay, so grabbing a nail file from my kit, I am going to use the 180 side to start the shaping and tapering process on the nail tip. Again, the importance of doing this is that when you do it in the beginning, you're automatically seeing what that nail is going to look like. So if you want an extremely tapered look, you would have to cut much more off. Like if you want more of a ballerina look, then you would have to cut off much more. But I'm going more up for a coffin look, and so that's why I cut off what I cut off. But again, I'm shaping the nail, and I'm only going to file down the tip that is on the side walls. I am not going to make the tip of my nail flush, and the reason that I'm not going to do that is because that tip is already creating somewhat of a lift. And that lift that it's creating will aid in my ability to create that apex, okay? That curve, if you want a curve, and I always go for a curve, a natural curve. So that's why I don't, and I wouldn't file that down in this case. Now, if I was doing traditional monomer and powder, M&P, then I would file that down because I could create the apex myself. But in this case, I can't. So I have to, you don't want to cut off your aid, right? So that little lift is going to help aid in your ability to create that apex. And so that's why I'm not filing it down. Okay. So here, what I'm doing, I'm using a dip powder, and it's 1 ounce, and I'm taking my tip and I'm basically testing the depth of that container. So I can sort of see, okay, that container is really going to go with this tip on. I'm only going to get 3/4 of my finger into the container. So now it's letting me know, okay, I need to go and grab something that will help me get to that back area, okay? Now, in a recent video that I did maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I went to the Dollar Tree and I said, hey, getting a bowl like this with this little straw can help, okay? I'm going to show you today one way that I would use this. Now, if I was doing this on my entire both hands, all 10 fingers, then I would definitely need something like this. But in today's video, I'm just going to show you quickly how I'm going to use that. Now, as you know, I always create almost like an anti-tension layer that will enable your nail and give you that sort of foundational strength that you need while building that apex. And so I'm going to put a little bit of that step number 2, still using step number 2. I'm going to tilt my powder, almost creating a slope, my clear powder, and I'm going to dip my nail in. And once I dip my nail in, I'm going to ensure, see how I'm going in, but I'm lifting it up. That's going to be pretty much the same technique that we use throughout the video. That's important. You want to make sure that your powder, if you're holding your powder at an angle, that you create that slope without spilling it. But that slope allows you to have more range of motion, and it allows you to redistribute the powder in an effort to apply it to the entire nail. Okay, so that's what we're going to do there. Now, I just dusted off that powder, and we're going in with Sin Nudes. That's our color of choice this week, Sin Nudes. It's a very pretty neutral nude. It's I would say a tan with a golden pink base to it. Very, very pretty. So again, still using step number 2. And what I'm doing is I'm just going a little bit above that sort of initial dip that we had, that initial layer that we have. As you can see, I tilted my container to create and to redistribute the powder. And now I slip my nail in at that slope. I have it in there. I'm holding it in there for about 10 seconds and just count to 10. Tapping off any of the extra, still allowing it to sit and soak. But as you can see, I only got pretty much maybe 5/8 of my nail covered, and I still have additional areas that I need to cover. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Again, letting the powder sit for a second or two, then dusting it off is key. You don't want to dust off too soon. You want to let that powder have time to really connect with the liquid base coat that you applied. And also you want to make sure that the powder actually is able to adhere properly. So again, taking step number 2, and I'm applying another layer. And if you notice, I'm going a little, for every layer, I'm moving further, and I'm moving closer and closer and closer to the cuticle line. And again, product saturation and product distribution is important. Taking the container, tilting it at an angle, going in, leaving my finger in there for about 10 seconds, tapping off the extra powder, okay? Giving my finger time to, really form the bond for the powder and the base to like connect. Then I will go in and dust that powder off. Once I do that, I'm now going to go and grab my measuring spoon, and I'm grabbing my, you'll see in the next clip, I'll grab that spoon, which will be on the side of me, because now I need that spoon to help me grab powder to put over my nail. Okay, right now I'm just going to dust this excess off. I'll grab my measuring spoon, and any spoon will do. You just need something small enough that will allow you to scoop out powder to put on your nail once you apply your base. Okay, so again, going in with my base, and as you can see, I'm getting closer to the cuticle line. I'm going to go ahead and apply my next layer. of base coat, step number 2, making sure that I get all sides. I need to get it, I need to, cap my free edge, make sure I get it on the side walls. And as you can see here, I'm going in with that powder and I'm scooping that out with my measuring spoon, and I am literally just sprinkling that powder all over. Okay, all over. Once I'm done, I will tap it off. Tap, 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 tap. And again, not flooding the side walls, not flooding the cuticle line. I'm just trying to very quickly build that powder up. And as you can see in the straw, I'm just pushing that powder into the straw. And I want to do that because I'm not trying to make a big mess. Like again, if I was doing all 10 nails, I would have more powder, and you would see it would be easier for me to sort of show you how to push all that powder in. But again, you get it for tutorial purposes. This actual straw comes in handy. Okay, I just dusted off the rest of the powder, and now we're going in with another layer. Again, every layer you need to build on. Don't just out the gate start by your cuticle area, because what's going to happen is you're going to have bulky nails. Your nails are not going to last the longevity of them, and it won't work. Okay, so I just applied that layer of base coat, and what you can see that again, I'm taking my powder, I'm lifting it up, I'm tilting it at an angle, right? I'm pulling and pushing my fingernail forward so that I could get that cuticle line area saturated with powder. By doing that, the tip of the nail hit the base of the container. So when I pulled that nail out, I had a little wave. Took my finger from the opposite hand, and I just patted that down to remove that little wave. And now I'm just going to let this powder sit and let my nail sit, because again, I'm not trying to dust the powder off too soon before it actually has time to really connect with the adhesive. Okay, and right now I'm just testing the strength of the nail, and I felt like I probably need 2 more layers, but I didn't want to do 2 more layers of color because I like the color payoff that I'm getting right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 layers of clear. Okay, so we have a long nail, and if this is your thing, listen, I'm here for it. But because when you're wearing long nails and dip is not as strong as the traditional monomer and powder, you have to add more layers. Not adding more layers will not do your nails any justice. You're just going to keep breaking them time after time. Okay, so again, this container is about halfway full. I'm tapping it, pulling it forward, creating a slope. I'm going to stick my finger in, and I'm going to flick my finger up so that I can get some of that powder back here behind, along the lines of the cuticle area and the side walls. Okay, and what you'll see me do, I'm not brushing that powder off. I'm not going to do that because we have a long nail, and you need strength with these long nails. You need something that won't bend or doesn't have any flex. So what I'm doing is taking my brush and I'm tapping the powder into the natural nail. Into the actual nail form here. I'm tapping that. And you want to do that because you want that strength on that nail. You have to build this nail up. It's not traditional. It's not M&P. It is dip. So you have to add those layers. And I want to make sure that I'm not just dusting off the clear powder, because I need that. I need that strength. I'm going to add 1 more layer because, again, to me, it just wasn't strong enough. And I needed to have a little bit more strength. So again, just going in, step number 2, I'm going to apply that to the entire nail. I'm working relatively quickly, but I'm not rushing, if that makes sense. Like, I know I have a time limit. Taking the powder, shaking everything up, tilting it to the side, sliding my finger in, flicking it up, bringing it back down. Okay, going over to my container where I catch my powder. I'm going to tap, tap, tap off the excess. Okay, I'm going to grab my brush. Instead of me dusting this off and tapping it off, I'm going to tap it in. I'm going to use the back and the sides of the brush, and I'm just going to tap, 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 because I want to make sure that I have enough layers to support this long nail, period. If you do not put enough layers on this nail, they're going to look, they're not going to perform in the manner that you need them to perform, and you're going to consistently break them, like consistently break them. I'm now going in with step number 3, and I'm going to saturate this nail a couple of times. I'm probably going to do this like 3 or 4 times. And if you were doing all 10 nails, you would need to do at least 3 to 4 layers, and then allow those layers to sit. I would say let that sit there for at least 3 minutes or so before you start your filing process, because you want to give the bond enough time to really crystallize all of the layers that we just applied. Okay, so on here, I'm using my file. I'm using my standard nail dip file, and I'm using the 180 side. If you're returning to my channel, you know I always use the 180 side. I use that probably about 90% of the time. If you're new, you want the 180 side. Is the higher the number, the less grittier the actual nail file will be. The actual grit will be. It's not as coarse. It's not as abrasive. The smaller the number, the more abrasive the file will be. So if you're using a 90, if you're using an 80, it's going to be really hard and really abrasive. And you're probably, if you're using a file that's that rough, that could be part of the reasons why your nail products are not staying on, because you're essentially filing everything off. And so right here, all I'm doing is shaping the nail. I'm removing any imperfections, and I'm really trying to smooth things out without removing so much product, because I want the product to stay. By staggering your layers, you don't have to do as much work, because the form or the formation is already there. You know, we've been building. Everything is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's not, you know, that sort of bulk. We didn't just take a blob of products and just throw it on our nails and walk away, and now you have this sort of distorted looking chiclet burrito looking nail. It doesn't look like that. It is going to be tapered. It is going to be just a beautiful finish once I'm done. But I prefer for individuals to really take their time and to build, and it will look very professional. And this is what I would do if I was doing your nails in front of me. Okay, so if you came to me as a client, this is how I would do your nails. So I'm just showing you what I would do as a professional. And again, you're just going to use your 180 side to actually file, to smooth, to shape. But we will use the 100 side of that file in this video. And we're going to use that once once I'm done shaping the nail and getting it to the form that I like. I'm going to flip, and I'll notice underneath that I need to shape that undercarriage area. And so I'm going to use the 100 side, because that side is abrasive, much more abrasive, and I want that because I'm dealing with a tip. So this tip is something that's disposable. It's an artificial tip. It will come off. Once I soak my nails off, it'll come off, and that's why I like using the base step number 2 as my adhesive to apply my nail, because once I go in to soak everything, because it's all one and the same, it's going to soak off at the same time. So if you want that soak off time to still remain at somewhere between 10 minutes and like maybe 13, 14 minutes, then you want to use, you want to be consistent throughout your application. So that's what I am going to do. I'm going to show you in a couple of frames out how to shape that up. And I wanted to do it with a nail file instead of doing it with an e-file, because I recognize that everyone doesn't have an e-file, or a good e-file at that. So again, right here, you can see I'm going to go in with the 100, and I didn't like how it was looking underneath. And I'm going to show you just how I go from left to right, up, down, side to side. I'm going to buff things out, apply some cuticle oil. My final step will be step number 4. When I apply that top coat, I'm going to apply 2 layers of the top coat. I want you to at least let the first layer of the top coat dry completely before you add the second layer of that top coat. And that will be the end of the video. So again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you find them informative. And yeah, until next time, keep tipping.